Explaining the plot of Elden Ring as quickly as I can. You start the game as a fouled tarnish and make your way to a god and promptly kill it. The end. On a more serious note, Elden Ring is a game that hides information from the player unless the player is willing to sniff it out. This is actually true for most things in the game, even just learning all the mechanics, most of which are hidden and require experimenting to use, but I don't care about the mechanics and neither will you with this video. I'll be talking about the story of Elden Ring, but even more specifically, the various endings that the player may experience. Some of you may think this is like a spoiler or something. No, I don't think the endings really matter that much overall to enjoying the game, and if you're going into Elden Ring for the story, you're probably going in for the wrong experience. There are 6 endings in total for the player to enjoy. 4 of these endings are technically the same, with some slight difference to what the game looks like after becoming Lord, and the other 2 endings are Lord of Frenzied Flame and Age of Stars. Very different because they get their own custom cutscenes and you have to do a lot of work to get to them on the most part. I will start with the 4 variations because that will provide a sort of template to base the last 2 on. Completing one of the 4 endings would crown you as Elden Lord and generally has you repeating a sort of loop that draws anything but new to people to the lands between, really just defaulting to the people suffering in various amounts from one to another. Each of the 4 endings has its own title. The default ending, assuming you did none of the major side quests, is called the Age of Fracture. In the Age of Fracture, you simply choose to mend the Shattered Ring and usher in a new age with you as Elden Lord. That is what makes it default. You do nothing that matters and end it in a way that may or may not last. The next ending is Age of the Dustborn. I am withheld from this ending because I feel like it's a major ending as you bring upon the world the loss of immortality, but for some reason they made it a default ending. The lands between is engulfed in a dark fog of sorts and brings out the ability for a natural cycle of life and death to reoccur. As I said, it feels kind of important that you stripped away immortality from all the lands, and I really don't know why they didn't make it a cool cutscene. I feel like they could have given it a really nice one, using the corpse that you find in multiple places on the map. The third cutscene is labeled as the Age of Order, and is very similar to the default ending, but instead of simply mending the ring and taking the throne, you actually perfectly mend the ring, take the throne, and put to rest all the gods and people that scuffle to be the best. All the people emboldened by the flame of ambition, as our friend Margit would say. This ending is probably the best for keeping things calm because it ends all strife and conflict that the people of the lands between may go through. But I often feel as though the loss of all ambition leads to life not worth living, so I personally don't like the ending. But maybe it is worth it in order to live a life that isn't so easily put on by a god no better than men. The final of basic endings is the Blessing of Despair ending. This ending is pretty bad for the people of the lands between as far as I can tell, but to give it some better understanding, I will say that it is similar to the first ending where you repair the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord, but rather than making life more stable, repeating the cycle, or bringing in natural life cycles, you make the land and its people suffer a reviled curse. That's what makes it bad. This curse is similar to the Dung Eater and his defilement, where souls of dead people cannot return to the Erd Tree. I personally think this is the worst of the default endings, as Dung Eater is at no point in the story depicted as a good person, and is clearly written as a man with malicious intent aimed at the people and world around him. So, by understanding similarity, that doesn't paint the curse that you spread to the lands between as something that will benefit the people in any way whatsoever. Really just comes off as, yeah, I hate everybody here and I want everybody here to suffer more. And that's really how it goes. Now we can cover the cool endings, and while the default variations may not be all that boring, they certainly not as interesting as these next endings. The Age of Stars ending is my favorite, as it is in my eyes the best ending for the people of the lands between. The Age of Stars has an ice witch named Ranni that you help throughout the game so that you can kill the fingers and remove the Erd Tree from interacting with the life of all inhabitants. She replaces the Erd Tree with the moon and gives all people the ability to be as they want without a predetermined fate getting in their way. Every other ending has you perpetuate some level of control over the people, with them suffering different amounts depending on what you choose. But with Ranni, you kill all the rulers and potential issues and leave the lands between to its own fate, letting the people choose how to live, for better or worse. She references that she will make things like sight, emotion, faith, and touch all impossibilities, but I believe that this is referring to herself and how she will isolate herself with you from the world for a long time, as you have effectively taken on the Golden Order and must bear that cross of sorts. Lord of Frenzied Flame ending is what I consider to be the absolute worst ending possible, as it throws the land between into an absolute chaos as you, the new Lord of Frenzied Flame, burn the world of all that the greater will has messed up on. While you do this, Melina, the lady that travels with you across the lands and allows you to level up, will leave your side and will say something along the lines of delivering a destined death to the player. This ending takes priority over every other option in the game if required, and can be removed with a separate questline if the player desires. I don't have much to say about this ending, other than the cutscene for it looking cool as hell, and the glowing eye effects are also quite nice. So really, some of you may be thinking, well, none of these sound all that great, and I don't think it has the best or worst ending that the player could choose. Actually, I will agree with you on this, and this is something that most players will complain about, as the game really gives you a varying shades of gray for choice, and has you choose which one you like best. No ending is going to be perfect, and all endings are going to leave somewhat of a sour taste in your mouth, but maybe that is your fate, is nothing but a foul tarnished. Alright, so, post-video, all endings and their explanation is my interpretation of both playing the game and reading into them a little bit more on the Fix Your Life wiki. Seriously, if the game is on the Fix Your Life wiki, you get an absurd amount of knowledge about the game you are playing. Make sure to check them out, and if you find yourself interested in more about the story and lore of Elden Ring, I recommend checking out Body Vidya and his videos. Very smooth voice and explains these things far better than I do. He actually inspired me to make this video, so much thanks to him, and thank you for watching.